listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure.
It's nice to have all of you here, right? We have Sinosure, Dorothy, and myself. I'm Halima. So we want to talk about politics. There's been a lot of conversations about politics. This is 2023. We've had the presidential election. There has been the gubernatorial election. So we just thought, okay, why not talk about it on a podcast, right? Let's introduce ourselves to the people. Sinosure, can you take it first?
Good afternoon. Like she
Depending
said,
on when you're listening.
yeah, of course, that's very important because when you look at it, it will seem like we all run on different time zones. And it's a pleasure to be here, very importantly. And of course, they call me Sinosure, but my name is Ayodeji. And I hope today we have some progressive conversation as usual. And then, of course, our listeners get to enjoy what we think about per time as it pertains to the political environment in Nigeria. Thank you.
Keyword is progressive. Keyword is progressive. Holy,
Yeah, hopefully.
progressive in quote. No, it depends, literally or not. Or we could go political with the progressiveness, right? We don't know. We'll get there. And then let's have Duro to me.
Okay, yeah, sure. So my name is Timmy. Some people know me as Doro Timmy, but my name is Timmy. My popular name is Timmy. Yeah. And welcome, guys. We're going to have an interesting discussion today. I trust my fellow guest on this show, and yeah, I'm sure we're going to have an interesting conversation. So let's begin. Let's begin.
All right, that's nice. We want to talk about different things. As the podcast go, we'll be, talking more and more about everything that's happening on political, should I say, spaces on different platforms, but we wanted to bring it in such a way that you can follow us in a chronological order, right? So everybody's not just speaking on every other space and you wouldn't get to know what we are talking about or what our, should I say, ideology is like. We're going to have different conversations. I hope we can agree on some things, disagree on some things, and, have a little bit more progressive conversations. Talking about that, we have our president-elect right now from the All Progressive Congress, the APC, by the name of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A lot of debate are still surrounding it, based on now that we're recording the podcast, which is today, April 24th. Anytime you listen to it, if you listen to it maybe 2 months from now, you might think that the conversations are not as relevant because I feel like a lot of things would happen. We don't know, but we wanted to just bring our voice as youths to the table. And let's talk about APC. Let's talk about the president-elect. And can you chime in anytime you want to? Let's see what you have to say about what's going on in our political sphere.
First off, so you see when you guys, I think Sinosure and Halisa, when you guys we're using the word progressive. The word progressive now is not like the word change. Whenever I hear progressive, it just starts ringing a lot of a lot of signals in my head because of this our APC brothers. Because I feel like in some way that word has been bastardized. So I don't really like to identify with it. Just like how every politician is running away from the word change now. But it is what it is. So I just wanted to just chip that in. But as regards to the conversation for today, which is most likely about what we should be expecting as young people in a bad presidency, right? I don't know. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'm not a supporter of a bat, but we just have to be objective and then look at the bad presidency, if it's going to stay. Apparently, some people are still in court right now trying to see if they can, have the decision by INEC, upturned to, and maybe for a fresh election to be conducted, or for some, just want their candidate to be declared as the legitimate winner of the elections. But I think, Sinosure, what do you think about the what we should be expecting before I give some of my own opinions? So, Halisa.
I think Very importantly, right? When we speak to, I am very big on language. And being big on language suggests that when people say things, I pick a lot of things. Right? You might just say a word or perhaps a line of thought, and I would have picked a lot. So when you literally say progressive, it does not necessarily mean positive things, right? When you look at it within the simplistic context, progressive can actually be like you are perpetuating a wrongdoing and continuing to build on a wrongdoing, right? At least we can say when Hitler was on rampage, they were progressing, and to them, in their action at that point in time, they were a progressive in the sense of what they intend to achieve. So it is structurally very important to bring things back home. Your progressivism is tied to what? You understand? But for me, I actually would understand if it is thought of in the sense of social reform, like, okay, you want to continue to reform the system. But how do you reform a system like this? I'm curious, really curious. And then that will now lead my thought to, okay, if you say you want to reform this kind of system, like if you want to reform this kind of system, I would make a bold move to ask you, how exactly do you reform a system that cannot logically produce a legitimate person in office, right? Someone that everybody will just fall in line with. And funny enough, in 1993, when Nigerians seem to have gone to the poll the last time to generally elect a person that they want to govern them, right? It was hope, right? That was the mantra. And this time around in 2023, when a lot of people are completely aggrieved, a lot of people are aggrieved really with the system that produced the current president who is going to be sworn in very soon, if the court agrees. The theme again is renewed hope. Perhaps there are some ties between them, you understand. But anything, if there is anything I have seen, I have some expectation, both positive and negative. But as the conversation unfolds, I believe we're going to
You
be
have
rolling down.
positive expectations.
Yeah, I do have positive
That's
expectation.
interesting.
It is.
Oh, let's
You-
let's go from the positive ones before the because I'm pretty. That's interesting. What do you think?
Con, D somewhere.
like I was saying earlier, yeah, where we were discussing progressive as a concept, I said the fact that somebody who was going on with the intention of a conquest like Adolf Hitler, yeah, also would think himself progressive. So for someone like me, who have seen the system perpetuate itself over the years, and then of course believes that the system is currently at the edge of a cliff, and then who intends that the system should be completely overhauled, or let me say upended. I like to use that word. It is my joy to actually see someone like him emerge. We've seen an army general. We've seen is Jonathan a university professor again?
I think they said he studied some engineering. Like I'm not sure if he got up to PhD, but
I am.
they were very proud of his education. Let me
I think
even
he's a PhD holder. Yeah, yeah. We've seen
yeah.
somebody like that who is quite close to the academia. We've also seen quite a number of them who are not even close to the academia, but they were in the military, like I said earlier, general. Now it is the time to see somebody who is alleged to have worked with Moby in the past, yeah? Somebody who is alleged to have worked with the consultancy firm in the past, although those things are disputable now, seeing what the informations are on the airwave. But in all of this is the fact that when I say positive, I look at it from the sense of someone who will show us that we have tried the academia, we have tried the military, and then we are now going to be trying the corporate world. It's going to show the whole world why some of us believe this system should no longer be perpetuated. And then that practically speaks to the positivity that I see. Does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that though. I was expecting you to say, yeah, I was going to see the education system grow or the education sector grow or something. And you're just trying to say basically like that, let's see how they progress or how they fail. And let's, you know, I think I know what you're talking about, but I was expecting you because you said progress, succeed or whatever. I was thinking completely differently. That's a different angle for sure.
Oh, you can't catch me, you know. I
Well,
don't do at
like
all.
you see, when I'm listening to
I
conversations or when I'm speaking with people on like other mediums that are not Twitter Spaces, I just keep on looking for that laugh icon. Like I just want to laugh, I just want to react, but
Oh,
unfortunately, it's not here. But I'm surprised that you actually yeah, see, I understand the way you're coming from. That we've had all this kind of people come in, and then we have an opportunity to have somebody else now. But uh, I think based on the antecedents of this person, it's not someone that I am excited about um, in any way, shape, or form. I feel like based on his track records in governance and how he runs his own style of governance, we might be faced with we might be faced with one of the worst presidencies um that's that if care is not taken might just totally put Nigeria on that wrong path. The only exception for that would be if they listen to all of the various voices that have spoken up against what they have done in the past, where he's coming from in Lagos, the way he has administered Lagos, and if also they listen to the various voices that have spoken up against the tyranny of the Buhari administration. If they can listen to the people's voices, that's the only way that I will be expecting anything, even slightly or remotely positive to come out of this bad thingy, right? So, that's just that for me, though. So,
are you not
yeah.
giving to the possibility of a plot twist? I am saying this like a fiction, right? Imagine just before us. What if Bola Tinubu just decides to be the Bola Tinubu of 90 of Nadeco and says, "Oh, democracy. Oh, rule of law. Oh, free education. Oh, I am an Awoist. Oh, I am a left-leaning person. I have just been disguising all along so that when I emerge, right, I can just
uh-uh.
pull this." And
Magic.
then we can now argue the teleological nature of his approach, right? Which means, oh, okay, he's literally saying, I don't care how I get there. I just want to do the right thing when I get there. Is there any possibility?
Let me quickly chip in though. But this, what's it called? Good luck, Ebele Jonathan. He did. Yeah, he's a doctor, but he's in zoology. I was confusing him for someone else with the engineering.
You call
Yeah.
it zoology. You call it zoology, but a lot of people will call it zoology. Yeah, you'll be surprised.
So is that why many people didn't get treated like human beings during his?
Oh Lord, no way.
Oh,
Oh my
perhaps
God.
is that why we now have a bat coming after him? A bat
What's going on here with these dad jokes? What's happening? Hello, focus, people.
Oh my god!
I was
Anyways.
actually, while I was thinking the plot twist earlier, I was actually also thinking that when you look at the nature of a bat, the bird, bat, it's a mama, yeah? It's neither a reptile nor a bird, really. It's a mama. So when you look at it within that sense, right, a bat is ordinarily expected to turn everything upside down. They see better in the night. When they're on the tree, you see them turning upside down. They are, I mean, the whole metaphor that we can create from the nature of a bat, yeah, is such that this man could
Aren't
just,
there those people? Those they have to go in with other people, right? They are not usually alone. They have to move information. Is it bat that do that? No.
I pretty much see them in groups. For those of us who
Yes.
schooled at the Obafemi Awolowo University, it's a bat infested kind of environment. So at times you go into the hall and they're shitting on your head,
Hey God, all of this metaphor. Let's make it. Let's. Because what I'm saying is that moving his formation, a lot of people say that he created men, he has instead like has put in some governors in Lagos and all of those things. He has a good team. There's this teamship thing that he also talks about, and I think a lot of people have run with that word. They say teamship all the time. So I'm just thinking he never really moves alone. There's always people around him doing his biddings and stuff like that. That's
I
why.
bid, I bid all of
Great.
you good. I bid all of you good speed.
Okay. Zero to me. Yeah.
Okay, for me, the much touted discussion about the bad presidency has been about this agricultural, um, I mean, I don't want to say agricultural revolution because to some of us, the word
Yeah, that
revolution is very deep,
is
but it has.
sacrosanct.
Yeah, so it has been talked about a lot. Agric, and so I think some of the things that we might be expecting, even though we never when I interact with like the APC people, I never get to understand where the landing point, the final goal is. Is it that we are going to have prices of food prices drop? Food prices are going to be like it's going to be more affordable for the Nigerian people, because if that is possible, that would actually be a good, a very good goal. Um, but it seems that they are never, I think Sanusi has even had more interactions with them on the food stuff, but they are never like coming to a definite conclusion. What's the goal, right? What's the goal? I know that they want to produce for export and everything, but I think most importantly, what I'm looking at as a Nigerian is that I would love the prices of food, to really drop down. And if you check, majority of the guys that come online to support the bad presidency, many of them, from my own little research, have one or two investments in agriculture. Apparently, some of them have been, promised, loans and whatsoever and everything like that. But um I think that that's one of the first things that will be looked, because that has been like, in the whole the Agbado thing, the maize thing, whatever. I think we should be looking at that. Then yeah, maybe I should
Agriculture.
allow
Let's
you
let's
guys
stay
to
on
go.
agriculture a
Yeah,
little bit,
let's do
because
that.
I also watched an interview where Ajuri Ngelale spoke on that. So I think he was also speaking on it from the perspective of what the youth would do and how involved the youth will be in the whole administration. And Ajuri was kind of hinting to the fact that they are not focused on just youth that went to school. So they are trying to employ everybody, even people that didn't have the opportunity to go to school. And it was kind of primitive because he said something along the line of they would send these multiple young men to the field to clear grasses, clear bushes, and that's a source of employment for them. So yeah, it's kind of related to the agriculture, but I thought it was really primitive for 2023. But at the same time, it's like every job is a job. It's like you're struggling with putting placing or understanding where the value they are placing on youth is. They are trying to provide jobs, and they're trying to say, okay, if even if you didn't go to school, yes, you can get a job in the agriculture. And but it's for me, it didn't leave a very good taste in my mouth. Let me just put it like that.
Did he just say Ajuri? Ingalali?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. He said he will send you to the farm, yeah.
That's why he said, yeah. And the way he put it, he's a very good orator. So he put it in such a way that it looked like it was supposed to make sense, but it still just didn't sit well, because he was like, they're going to send these multiple young men that haven't been to school to farm. And then, they didn't even talk about mechanized farming, but at the same time he hinted to the fact that it could be primary first with just people doing the primitive nature of farming, and then they might move to mechanized, and then they'll go to the industry aspect of it, of having factories all over the place. But he didn't really touch a lot on that aspect.
I guess Ajuri must have some certain studies that he's working with, because it will seem like everything that exists at the current position, I mean, the current position of Nigeria particularly, suggests, let me put it that way, that we do not have the time for all of those things like he has outlined. And I think we should also know that there are jobs that can provide living wage for the people, and there are jobs that will still keep people impoverished, right? If you send our people to the field to go and get involved in primitive land clearing system or process, whereas we could just get the necessary machineries. For instance, we used to have a farm settlement in the old Western region, right? And one of the benefits of those farm settlements is the fact that it allows for a kind of cooperative system whereby farmers have access to the needed infrastructure to do clearing, to do plowing, amongst other things. And it actually was pivotal to the agricultural revolution in the First Republic, yeah? But now the conversations around sending people to the farm seem more like something to complement what Bola Tinubu said at one of his symposium. Was it symposium? Where he said he will
The
employ
economic forum, is
economic.
that it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the forums there that he had in the run up to the election, where he said something like, "Okay, we are going to employ was it 50 million Nigerians to work in the army?" Where the Abado
Yes,
Ewa
yes, yes.
Gari, this thing came from. So I think they are thinking in line, but I would suspect that I would suggest that that is not a good way to go for farming in Nigeria. We do not have the time to start experimenting. And if you go, particularly if I'm not mistaken now, if you go to page 29 of their manifesto, right, what that place suggests, right, is completely contradicting what Ajuri must have said in that interview. So, do these people even have a grasp of what they've documented? You know, this was what their voters negotiated, yeah? This was why their voters voted. So, it is just practically a case that I do not think that's a thing that you will send people to the farm when to do subsistence farming when the mechanized farming could as well just save the day. And very importantly, pardon me, the argument around agriculture in Nigeria is a funny thing to me. Agriculture still contributes this most sizable chunk of what we have in Nigeria. And when you see such economy that is tilted in that way towards agriculture, where you can find manufacturing doing a sizable number in that respect as well, or even more, you are literally saying that agricultural value chain is not being completely benefited from. We will say optimized economically, economics wise, pardon me, we will say optimized. So there's a lot of problem. Agriculture should can be the mainstay, but should not be the most prominent segment in the economy. When it is, it shows a kind of economy that may not likely be able or might not have been getting the best value out of those produce.
Let me
And
pretend I'm from the APC and I'll say I'm going to report that by saying that what's it called, the biggest export, if you check the export chart of the US, they say agricultural produce is still the what they export the most. So what do you what do you have to say to that? Because you say if it's the bane of the economy, then it probably might not be the most uh reasonable.
no, I mean, it is quite interesting that you even cited the US. Because when you look at the US, right, one of the things they are big on is actually the ability to meet their own local food requirement. And when you have done that reasonably and you have created value locally on the agricultural value chain in your economy, it might just make sense to export excesses to places where they are needed. You understand? But not in the case of Nigeria, where it will seem we have sesame seed, and then you see the allure. I mean, when I say allure now, the attraction of foreign exchange is making people sell things that are not even enough for us locally abroad. It's two different issues that we have there. So I think for me, I just think logically, if you want to do anything, you must find a way to ensure that across the different sectors in the economy, you have the primary sector, secondary sectors, and the tertiary sector, right? Values are created significantly. And those are the basis upon which employment can be created. Those are the basis upon which new businesses can come around to optimize what we get on that value chain. I mean, it should also Poke your curiosity, especially when you hear one of the things that has been happening in the past 1 week on Twitter, for instance, where they are talking about mangoes in Benue State. You'd be surprised that the scale that is needed to run a factory of mango juice making, for mango juice making, the power that is required are not available. So when such instances occur, what people just tend to do is they have wastages. And where they don't have wastages, they just do things that they only can consume. I mean, if there's a lot, don't let me hog the mic like they will say.
So
This
I was
is
just
this
going
is
through.
yeah.
I
Before
was going
yeah.
through the. Yeah, I was going through the. I was just taking out time as you guys were talking, like to go through the manifesto of the APC again on agriculture, and I noticed that you guys talked about like what they call it again, manual clearing of land, but on the manifesto, it actually states that they would be on the subsection of that's titled large scale land clearing. It states that we have about 35% of our arable land in Nigeria is presently under cultivation. Our target shall be to increase this number to over to 65% within 4 years. Okay, there's actually a time frame to work with here, and working with international and domestic private sector partners. So maybe he might have put it as people going there to go and clear the land, but I think they might actually have another plan. Maybe most likely to
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah. Speaking
I
grammar
don't think
now.
they'll put that on paper though. But that there's this tendency to over explain anything that is currently related to the establishment. They say one thing, and then people that support them come out and over explain it.
I think
So
Ajuri
that's
under,
what we're facing.
I think Ajuri understands that Nigerians rarely read. He knows a lot of people will never visit this manifesto. He's just doing his bit to continue to make, drive populism. Oh, we are going to give you a job. You are going to have places to clear. Some people will be excited about that. Meanwhile, that's not where value is created. Value is created more in getting those guys to run the trucks that they will use to clear those land. Value is created more in saving their time by ensuring that it is deployed to more productive ventures. You understand? But I mean, this is Nigeria. Like the old Ambrosia Ijebu will say, anything you see, take it like that.
I think
Okay.
like all of the supporters of like the establishment are all responsible for are all like, guilty rather, because majority of them had already even pledged their support before. Like Nigeria is a very unserious country. It's a country where people already pledged their support to candidates that are yet to even provide like a document that they can use to evaluate. And in fact, after the manifestos were all released by all of the candidates, it did not sway anybody's opinion in any way. And just like you said, Sinoshaw, I'm actually going through this document as we're talking, and it's very light on. There's no much content that's or specifics as to what's going to be done and everything. Yeah, but you know,
They keep
it is
sweeping
what
us
it
with
is.
the numbers now. They will take it from 35% to 60%. They will take it from how many million to how many million. It's the numbers all over again. And we get confused really easily as a people, right? When it comes to this number, when they just say 60% of the arable land in the blah, blah, blah area is not cultivated, right? And then we
Nasarawa
quickly
is a
get
very big
jumpy.
is a country.
Yeah, we
Nasarawa is a
get
country of
jumpy.
its own.
We don't get relative with it. We don't say this and this when you compare it. We do a
Yeah.
comparative analysis. What does it bring? We just shut down when we see all of these numbers, and that's what's playing out here for me. And I saw the manifesto, and after it I was just like, okay.
We are going to go from 30 to 65. And then you wonder why Ajuri is saying people will be using their hand to cut grasses. God, I beg you.
And this is where like what they fail to do is like they always fail to like wow me with like 21st century forward thinking ideas. Okay, if you want to go into agriculture, are we talking about like vertical farming? Are we talking about like I don't like you need to
What about
wow me, you need to impress
what?
me. How do all
What
these
about?
youths get impressed by basic, like we're going to go back to the farm like it's 19 this thing? Give me new ideas, new ways that we're going to do like all this stuff. I've heard Chore speaking about agriculture before, and he will tell you, oh, we're going to try this way, we're going to try it this way, we're going to do vertical farming. We're going to try, and these are things that are working in other places in the world where their environment may not be okay for them, or so many other things. So it's just really confusing for some people how they get excited by all these things. But
I was expecting to see that we will start planting some kind of crops that would ordinarily not have grown in some areas using hydroponic
exactly,
farming system. You understand? It's not the
exactly.
hydroponic. I don't want to say shit. Pardon. It's not the hydroponic really that is the thing for me. It is the fact that you understand that you may not necessarily have to cultivate the land. You might just set up tents somewhere, right? Create an enabling environment for, let's say, apple to grow, and then you grow apple on about 28 hectares of land within your vicinity. Did I just say vicinity? Pardon. Within your area, and then all you have is tents, shelves, and then the kind of water solution that can help these crops to be productive. At the end of the day, you see, it is practically just more or less like we are saying, as opposed to sending our brothers to the heat. You can as well just put up a tent, put these seeds where they should be, let them grow. Hydroponic farming, gaskia, and then you would have generated significant productivity without using our land. Imagine, we could as well use the land for something else. You understand? But it is Nigeria, like I said earlier, yeah? I don't want to reiterate it.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's no way
anything
we can
you
talk
must take.
about yeah. There's no way you can talk about this agriculture thing, without talking about the agriculture, should I call it, I wanted to say revolution, and now I'm struggling to use a different word. But what they wanted to do the last 8 years, right, in Buhari
Yeah,
administration,
you
they
sure
did
don't
the
want to
whole
find it.
closing of border. They did the whole closing of border for us to have this rice revolution. Everything is revolution at this point. No, let me remove that word. It's not, it doesn't work here. But we wanted to do that, right? And they started, I think the banks, they were giving credits to people to have all of this rice. What's this processing mill? And I heard from somebody now that has first-hand information that the produce that they had was not matching up with the meals that people had. So basically, people were just getting these loans from the CBN just to create all of these things and just siphon the money. And the other option, or the other thing the person said, was that the produce, they did not have enough, should I say, they didn't do enough research and development into the type of rice that is high yielding. So there was not enough rice to supply to all of those production mills. Basically, you just be driving around and you'll be seeing people that have already started this infrastructure to produce this rice, and there's no one exactly supplying them. So there's a mismatch with, should I say, the policies, because there's obviously this policy where the government can support them with fund, but then the government, and the government said they actually did supply them with some high yielding rice, but I think they might have needed more research into the area of how this should work, and how they should all work together as one industry. Because there's a huge mismatch now, and that's why we're having an undersupply. There's a lot of other reasons, obviously, why there's undersupply of rice. But what I was thinking, anyways, with that rice is, I thought there would be more on the manifesto on how to continue with that project. Because if they've invested this much into it the last couple of years, I wanted to see, since there's a renewed hope, or they are continuing. He didn't even lie. Bola Tinubu did not lie. He said he's going to continue on where Buhari stopped. So if he was going to continue, I would have loved, if you've read it, maybe Sinosho might even know, if you've read anything that talks about how to, continue on this plan. Because if they can bring it up to scale, it's not a bad thing to have us being self-sufficient in rice, right?
They're already bragging
Self-sufficiency.
about exporting rice to like
God, I beg you. Oftentimes, yeah, I am here and I'm looking at the numbers and they are not adding up. Well, I am looking at the numbers and they are not adding up. Anchor's borrowers program, a lot of debt right there that people are not repaying. They are calling it national cake. Rice production. But the issue is, why are we not able to scale to a point where we can easily, reasonably record some drop in the price of this commodity in Nigeria? And we have heard
Exactly.
farmers come to tell us like, oh, it's not because of that. Oh, intentional hoarding self still they happen. Like when you are trying to buy, when you are done, you have gone to the mill, right? Some people are trying to control how it comes to the market so much that they can get the best value for this rice. And that will now go to the fact that, okay, how do you provide money at low interest rate to farmers? And then you cannot oversee a proper end-to-end implementation of the rice plan or revolution or whatsoever. I don't want to land in DSS, so let me mind the use of the word revolution. We are not afraid though. We are revolutionary. So the point is, at the end of the day, I think as of 2022, we have about 5 million metric tons in production. And that's in production, yeah, in Nigeria. And then when you look
Okay.
at consumption in Nigeria, it's still around 7 million metric tons. So it means that like, we still have a deficit of about 2 million metric tons. So anybody who's giving us an impression, yeah, that
What
we
year?
have
What
meant
year is
to
this? Sure. What year are you looking about?
2022, he
2022,
said.
2022,
Okay,
yeah.
because 2022, okay, because the statistics I'm actually looking at is like 2021, and from what I'm seeing on statista.com, it's showing me that Nigeria is actually the largest okay, this is rice production in Africa, and that we produce 8 million metric tons of rice. And but what I just want to take us back to a little bit so that we don't go too far is, what is more important for to Nigerians? Is it the exportation of rice, or the price of what's like the one we are buying here? Because if we're
Affordability.
going to be a, yeah.
Yeah, the policy tours that we have seen recently, they don't tend to point towards affordability. They tend to
Hmm.
point towards the aesthetical part of it. More or less like we just want to make up for optics. Yeah, it's not aesthetics, it's optics. And I think a very good example was one of the conversations was where we had back and forth with, I think we had Mr. Lawrence Ali on that conversation on Twitter. We were having a kind of timeline back and forth. And then we were arguing that, we could have just left rice production. We could have focused on places where we have the capacity to produce the best yields possible, right? For instance, globally, yield per hectare, Nigeria is number 72 in rice production. Yeah.
Even as
If
at
you have,
now, as at 2022.
as of 2022, yields per hectare, Nigeria is like number 72. So if Nigeria is number 72 on yields per hectare, it probably speaks to the fact that we do not have the kind of terrain to actually make the best use of the current seedling that we are using. It might mean we need to invest in research and development. Like people should carry out research to see the best seed for our land, our soil. You understand? Meanwhile, if we probe closely, things like cocoa are still going very well here. You understand? And don't forget Cocoa House in Ibadan. I used to cite that example a lot, which was beat with cocoa money. Those were one of the major and the first set of crops that we were able to export. But why am I citing cocoa? I'm saying the land that you are using for rice, can it occupy both rice farming and cocoa farming at the same time? Because I'll be thinking like, okay, what do we call it again?
Is it
Is it
mixed
mixed crop?
farming or what do you
Mixed
call it?
farming, yeah,
Mixed
where you have two kind of item on
right.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, at the same time. If you can do rice and cocoa, then you can do rice under it and put cocoa at the top now. But if we can't do both together, which one gives us the best yield? Which one will give us the best value? Let's do cocoa. And then another very important thing is, why are we even exporting the cocoa? Why can't we actually play more higher on the value chain? Global cocoa market is about 20 billion US dollars, if I'm not mistaken. And then the global chocolate market is somewhere in the region of 40 something billion US dollars. That means that input is generating twice the value when it's converted to chocolate. You see what I'm saying? So we can play pretty much in some areas, and this will now lead us to another completely different conversation. But don't let us digress. That conversation will be okay. Comparative advantage. Like, what can we do better? If we are importing rice, for instance, right, at cheap prices, and we can produce cocoa, right, at the most cost-effective level, like the least cost level, like we can produce it at a very low cost, right? Why don't we just produce cocoa and use the value we create from there, right, to support the import of rice? Yeah, I mean it's
That
quite
makes
a
economic sense. That's what everyone does or
that's
should
what
do.
everyone does. Yeah,
Yeah.
like if I am a cobbler, right? I can make the best shoes. I can make everything. Why should I go and be doing baking when it is not an area where I have expertise? Let me produce my shoes and put it in the market. The value I get from there, I can use it to buy cake now when it's my birthday. What do you think? That's where some of us stand.
And I don't even feel like that should be somewhere you stand as per ideology and then someone should stand on the opposite side. It just makes sense. I
This is
don't know
not
why we're dragging about things that should make sense, right?
this is not even necessarily ideological. This is more about the fact that you are looking at
No, the thing
rationality.
is, the reality is actually that people would argue this point of view. And I'm just saying, why would people argue this point of view when it should be the rational, logical thing to do? That's just how economics work. If you have the comparative advantage to do like you just pick the one that you can export and gain more from. It's not. It's
No,
interesting, anyways.
I have. Do it to me. Are you silly? Because see,
I'm
when I
here.
talk
I'm
about
going
Nigeria,
through our Agbado manifesto because there are several.
Please stop reading. Don't worry. Nothing will wow you like you. He's
I
looking
just
for that
want to
wow
be
factor.
sure. I just want to be sure of some things, and we're still going to go over power and many
It's
other
fine if
things.
we quote some things, we might get fact checked by anyone that's listening. You can fact check us. We'll go back on it. Nobody's afraid to be wrong.
Okay,
With
okay. So you know what? Before we so that we don't know about, because I know Sanosha is obsessed with this rice. Be like say now only rice. We
no,
chop.
no, I was the one
But
that
no, I've heard
because for
Sanosha
me,
talk
I'm
about
just
this rice
saying
thing.
that.
Yeah.
I
no,
mean, it's
actually,
quite frustrating, right? Sometimes there's some.
actually, you will be surprised to hear people cite national security as a basis for us to produce our rice.
Ah,
You'll be surprised.
My own is. I mean, I'm not even going to come from a scholarly view of this whole thing. My own is if you claim to be producing something so much that you are the number one in Africa, why is it makes absolutely no sense that it is so expensive. It is like rice is a luxury. Rice is now luxury for people. Do you know that?
Why?
In fact,
Why? Why is it?
Gary,
Why is it like that woman from the APC who said people should be eating rice once in a blue moon?
who is
oh
no,
my
those ones they can
god!
APC can say anything now. APC can say, well, rice is meant for Easter and Christmas. They can say anything, right? But my own is like many of this food stuff. Because I've actually done like real life interviews with people, right? And like when I mean like people, no, normal Nigerians, not the ones that are coming on Twitter and are coming from the diaspora and everything. Like people that are in Nigeria that are suffering the
You're
problem.
shooting your shot, so thank you very much. Continue, continue.
No. Okay, so what I mean is,
It's fine. Go
now
on.
see, you will not blame me. You will not blame me because I've had conversations with some people. Then I expect you that you're living in a country where things are working much better than they're working back the way they are working back home, and you still come on a space. So I really have an issue with diaspora people right now. But going back to what I was saying, like Gary has now become a luxury during this Buhari administration. The poor man food, the food that poor people used to eat, have now become a luxury. Do you know how much the price of Gary is? So if my own I don't we can get into so much conversation about this whole rice stuff and everything. But if you're the number one exporter in Africa whatsoever, don't brag about that for me. Like brag that the price of because normally the exporting something should make the price higher when it gets there, right? So if you're exporting this thing, why is it not affordable if we're producing it so much that we can actually export to other people that need it? It should be less expensive here, right? But I don't want us to overflog this rice conversation. I just want to quickly, mention something that also is intertwined with national security.
Yeah, before we even
Yeah.
move away, sorry for the rice.
Okay. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
more thing, the rice is very important. I'm not gonna lie because
This
I feel
rice.
like we've invested so much. The thing is, don't just they want a government of continuity, right? That's why we're here. That's what they have always preached. Let's continue wherever we stopped. In as much as I feel like you should be able to finish everything in 4 years, don't repeat a class, never repeat it. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
if they are going to talk about this rice thing, I wished what I wanted is I wanted to see a more complete plan of how they will scale the rice, and they should present that to us because it would be nice for us to know since they are the people in power, they were the people in power, and they are now maybe the people that will be in power for the next 4 years. So this rice thing, they shouldn't just roll it and say, "Oh, it didn't work out," and then just put it in a bag. I mean, they might have to think a lot on how to go about this, their policies and everything to make things work out more because they can. Anyways, yeah, let's move on
Yeah.
from the
So I
rice.
was I was like
Maybe.
I was going to say that the I noticed that the manifesto did not touch on headsmen because that has to do with agriculture. I noticed that their manifesto did not talk about that, and I feel like it's a very essential part of the national discourse right now. I don't know why. Besides, not sure. You say you've read this thing like 8 times. I don't know if it touched on it but I can't find
On which of the
anyway
particular subject?
on
My,
the headsmen, cattle rears and
Security
stuff.
and maybe is
I,
also
I actually really come across it. It's not something that is engineered. These manifestos seem more to me like one that will still handle the issue in an high-handed version. Of course, it must also be stated, without mincing words, that they spoke about the fact that they will work on rehabilitating the lake shaft, and those were one of the things they spoke to as the basis upon which they want to end those conflict between farmers and elders. But it is just the case that you would expect more ordinarily, right? Of course, that will address some of the root causes, which are climatic issues, right? Climate issues. But the point is, what about the grievances, the pent up grievances? How are we going to address those? You understand? And one interesting thing, right? It's not interesting. One sad thing is the fact that the herdsmen, the dominating tribes in that business, yeah, there's a price on their head, so to put, that if the government do not find a way to properly manage the grievances people have with the herders, right, who might not necessarily come, the ones perpetuating the issues, the concerns that we have, they might not necessarily come from that particular tribe that have been profiled over the years. We might have an instance on our hand where people we actually have a target, where we have a target on their back, immediately President Muhammad Buhari leaves office, which is the basis whereby sorting Lake Chad issue is one. But managing the grievances that have erupted within the communities where these people coexist with other indigenous people and ancestral landowners needs to be at the forefront of the conversation. But I'm not sure they are big on that. Hence why you rarely see it on their manifesto.
and you know what? I think that sometimes these parties are politically maybe too correct, or should I say vague, so that you don't exactly trap them with something. So if they mention something like headsmen now, who knows, it's branded in such a way that it feels like you're targeting, it's not, it depends on how you want to see it. Even now I'm trying to be very correct with how I put it because it's a very tricky subject. You can easily say it and you lose everybody in the north to support you because it will look like you're trying to put every atrocity that's going on in the country on them. So they would have to address it in such a way that they would not tamper with the people that would want to vote for them or support them. So I think that's why you might not see something like that, right? Stated explicitly, but they might want to like cover it, or they might design it in such a way under the security, should I say, section of their manifesto, but you wouldn't see something that clearly. Or did you see other factions too that's also causing problem? Did you see any? Did you see any
Not
No,
mention
nothing
like
I
like
mean,
that?
there's nothing like that there. Like you mean other groups that are currently causing problem, right?
Yes, yes.
that's even like
You're
on
right.
the.
The manifesto is too politically correct. Like it's just too. It doesn't touch anybody. Do you understand? Like
Yeah,
is you're actually right. But I feel like that's the hypocrisy that we're faced with in Nigeria, and it's unfortunate because how do you intend for those issues to be addressed when you are so afraid as a political party to even touch on some of those issues, and that is where you would hear some of these people saying that, oh, you guys don't understand politics, like you guys don't know how to play. But there are some manifestos that are out there that actually touched on these things. You are not demonizing any particular group. A lot of, like Sinosha mentioned, the there's a reason, there's a scientific reason why people or the headers tend to be migrating towards other places in search of pasture and all this kind of stuff. But I I think that those are not the kind of things that we want to run away from. Those are the kind of things that actually
exactly.
need to be addressed. Those are the kind of solutions. If you read the AAC manifesto, it's very clear on what they will do. The names are mentioned. IPOB is mentioned. Everybody is mentioned. Nothing that we are that they are actually shy. They're actually shying away from. But this also brings us to other manifestos too. If you read the manifesto of the Labour Party, I'm not sure you would see anything like that. I don't know, but Sinosha has read that one like 40 times. But
I don't know what you are
It's very
saying again.
possible. Let me add 10 to that. Maybe 50.
Thank you.
reader,
I like the abuse of hyperbole. But it is not in my
yeah.
nature to not read
So
my other parts.
so quickly, if we touch on power, I've read through the section of power, and power is one of the things that, besides insecurity, we've talked about agriculture, and we spent a lot of time talking about agriculture because that is what in fact that's the most um touted term that they used during the campaign, and then after that they talked about insecurity, and that's where our president to be says that he will recruit 50 million youths into the army. So Sinoshaw and Halisa, I hope you're getting ready to serve your country, and
Boot
I
on
hope you're
ground.
getting ready to
Boot on
I hope you're
ground.
getting
Boot on
ready to
ground.
eat agbado in the
Ahoo.
morning,
Ahoo.
cassava in
Ahoo.
the afternoon. But, but on a more serious note, moving over to like power, under the section of power, I don't know, because I know that me personally, I'll speak for myself. One of the greatest things that I am demanding from any government that gets into Asorok right now is power. We need 247 power, and this nation cannot really move further, without having power. So. But from what is in the manifesto, again, we are talking about manifesto, and some of these parties don't really believe, in manifesto like that. There's no actual. I don't know if you guys have gone through this document, so that's it's not like
No, I've also said, and I'll quote their numbers again. Why am I remembering all of the figures? This because they said they're going to take it from 6,000 megawatts to 20,000 in the first 4 years, and then to 50,000 megawatts in the next 4 years. But there was no. Maybe I have to check it again, but I didn't know. I didn't see exact or specifics in the sense of the way you see it, maybe in the AAC manifesto of how they want to go about the power mix. And I think that Sinosha also has a very broad understanding of this, because I know of a conversation he had recently about discos and all of those other value chain of electricity. But for the for the APC manifesto, that's all I can remember honestly when it comes to their power conversation. It's just all of those figures.
Leave
yeah.
power. When it comes to Nigerian issue, leave power. All power belongs to God. Give power.
Thank God you did not quote this guy, yo. I thought he was going to do that Afrobeat song, right? But let's I, all
Okay.
power belongs to God. Let's leave
But
it
but
there.
but but but, but there's actually more in their manifesto. They've said they're going to eliminate estimated billing, which is a crazy which I don't even know why it's taking so long. Because is it not just
Oh,
like
okay.
why is it taking so long?
When when
Yeah.
when they had the agreement in 2013 to do the privatization that was done, right, where they did the unbundling of the power holding company of Nigeria. Part of the terms of the agreement was that all of these discos were going to meter ensure that metering is achieved within their jurisdiction, like where they cover. Eco Electricity Distribution Company, for instance, covers the island, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And then it also covers some part of Lagos mainland, yeah. And then we have the
Yeah, that's
Ikeja
right.
Electricity Distribution Company, which covers the other part of Lagos mainland. And I think it stretches to, if it doesn't get to Abeokuta, right? There's also the Benin Electricity Distribution Company, which does the work of the old Midwestern states, you understand? But now, when you probe very closely, one thing you will see is that none of them have been able so far to meter their clients. So literally, it means they need to use best of judgment to estimate the power that the people are consuming. That's where estimated
They
billing
actually
comes.
did. They actually did some though. They actually did some, but I think the federal government had to step in as it last year or a
No,
couple
the
of years
stepping in
ago
started
to
since 2017 or so. Currently, our meter
crazy.
penetration level is somewhere around 30 to 38%. That means we still have about
Wow.
62% of Nigerians that should have access to power, but they don't have meter. On top, those people at nine and they plan the estimated billing. Don't forget as well, it happened in Nigeria where comrades from the African Action Congress had to join a mobilization. I think DSM too was involved to ensure that they get was it Eko or Ikeja, one of the two, to actually find something to do about that because they had to cut off the whole community from power because those people just insisted, we are not paying estimated billing, give us meter. But the federal government has been
Do
intervening.
you know that this estimated billing stuff is so crazy that at a particular before, I think 2 or 3 months before I finally got like my prepaid meter for my apartment, the bills that were coming in were like 50k for for an
What?
apartment. And yeah, and
And
that's
they,
like I think Nigeria is such a dubious environment. So I think because they knew that they were going to bring the prepaid meter soon, so they just and now like you still have to pay. There's a way they infuse it into the current charges or whatever whenever you pay
if you
make
load
payments, they take
10,000,
out
they will drop to
yeah.
five. If you load 20,000, they might drop 5,000.
No,
That's what
Ah.
they do.
they withdraw about I think about 6.5 every time that you know that I recharge what's but I think that's just peculiar to me. But I know that the pricing is just so
No,
crazy.
you were
And
there.
that's
You were
for
busy there. You were busy supplying all your people with electricity. You were subsidizing your neighborhood, maybe.
what they do is that why it's so crazy is that in an environment where they have like prepaid meters, some of the people are on prepaid. I think there's a way that I'm not sure, but I think there's a way that they measure the general consumption in that area, and then they don't take out those people that have paid that are now running on prepaid. So then the bill now becomes so expensive, more expensive for those that are doing that are still on estimated billing and stuff. So it is so crazy. And NEPA, like this IKEDC, these companies are not places where you want to go and waste your time or do activism at their doorstep or whatsoever. It's just going to be a waste of time, right? Because you go there are so many people. It's a process, honestly, and I think that estimated. I would have loved if this thing actually had like a time frame where they are saying that okay, in the first can I see any? There's no time frame here. Like in the first 5 months or 6 months or 1 year, we are going to get this thing totally, or everybody's going to have prepaid meters in Nigeria. I think it's have been better that way, but it's not what it is, though.
Well done. You want make them promise you happy, so you go feel drag their trouser when they know meet
Ah,
the guideline. I actually think like I was talking to one of our brothers who was actually trying to also tell me that Omo, Me, I'm looking at the disco side alone, that there is a lot of corruption as well on the value chain. There is also issues around gas. You will see in this manifesto, you will see that they are talking about ensuring prioritization of gas for Gencos, because we have a lot of gas-fired plants these days, right? And they contribute the most significant portion of our electricity generation. So they are saying they are going to do that, which is a welcome development. But the point is,
Before
it
you
is
go on,
high.
Sino Show, Discourse and Gencos, it might be that everyone knows it, but can you just share very briefly what that is?
Oh, okay. Gencos, now those ones where they generate the power. Oh. Those ones that like Kanji is a Genco kind of plant. Like Geregu is a Genco generation company, power generation company. So we call them Genco. Those discos are the ones like Ikeja electricity distribution, Eco electricity, Yola electricity distribution, Kaduna electricity distribution, Jos electricity distribution, Bini electricity distribution. It's interesting, yeah? It's sounding so nice, eh?
So
So
why
those
why
are
why don't we have why don't we have 247 power? It's actually a crisis. Like why don't we just have why can't we just have power supply in Nigeria? Like what's
Rotimi, did
even
you
the
wake
major
up
issue?
2 weeks ago and say electricity, power, electricity, power?
electricity.
Because
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 you've been saying
because
Electricity. You know what?
I know how much this thing is
vibes on the
affecting me.
frequency.
You know what's
Seriously, like
coming to
I
my
know
mind, yeah?
this thing affects all businesses. It affects entrepreneurs. I know how much it affects me personally. Like my job literally requires me to have 247 power supply. I cannot be productive if I don't have power supply, right? And like it's crazy, honestly. Like it's really depressing being in an environment where you don't know everything in the 21st century now runs on power supply. Your phone, your laptops, every single device, so sometimes I'm
Yeah.
envious of those that do jobs that maybe you don't require, doesn't require you to have power supply, and so on and so forth. So I don't know,
So
me, I don't
Sino
see
Show, why don't we
anything.
have electricity? 24/7 electricity.
We don't have electricity because we are following vibes on a frequency.
Ah.
You
because
get
because because you could not make a down payment for a roasted corn. You could
Roasted
not make
corn.
you could not
particularly.
make a down payment for a roasted corn. That's why.
You might want to blame the DNCos, you might want to blame the discos, you might want to blame the TCN, the transmission company. Some people call them TCN because it's Transmission Company of Nigeria. You might want to blame anyone, but the point is the whole value chain is invested with a lot of inefficiency. The national grid, TCN's main infrastructure, has broken down more than 32 times in the last 24 months. Yeah, more than 22 times in the last 24 months. Yeah. And you know why
So
this is very.
how much hope do you have for this? Because when we talk with our friends from the APC, they tell you about the Siemens deal, blah blah blah. How much hope do you actually have that this thing would provide power supply for us? Because
Siemens deal, the Siemens plan worked in Egypt. Yeah? But what makes things work in any place is the political will to completely implement them. Abi? So, if, for instance, we follow through with the Siemens deal, do you know President Buhari just recently signed the act that allows, was this signed? Or I think the National Assembly passed it. I'm not sure he has assented. That allows, yes, he has assented
Is that yeah, it is.
states to generate and distribute power by themselves. So, where does this Siemens deal fit in amongst all of this? So it's supposed that at the federal level, the federal government still has this on their list as well that they will continue to treat. But I think it's now responsibility should beckon on us to actually get our elected state governors or selected, depending on how you see it. If you're an obedient now, you'll be saying selected. If it's not the LP,
Which is going to be all the states at this point, except the one
yeah,
that are having their
except
elections in November.
that one even said, yeah, they did not vote him. That
Except one.
he's had his relevance even before they emerged. But the point is, if the state governors can get into action, right? I believe any state that is able to get the head start will actually get a lot of traction in terms of investment. A lot of people will move there.
But this one is not connected to APC, right? I feel like we're still talking current administration.
Who has ever
Is there a rollover?
show me anybody who has ever pointed to APC as the only problem, as the problem of Nigeria, and I will tell you
Well,
somebody who doesn't understand Nigeria. It
Exactly.
is yeah,
Exactly.
it is. APC is just a symptom of the problem, just like PDP, just like LP. People will not like that. Ah, it will pain you, but
But
I don't care. I am an equal
yeah,
opportunity offender, so
so moving on to like other very important issues as
the
to
biggest one.
yeah.
Are you trying to touch on the
No, no,
credit
go
system
ahead, go
then,
ahead.
or? Because
No, no,
that's
go
one of
ahead,
the
go ahead.
biggest one they put with the agriculture. Then there's the credit system. They've been trying to sell this credit system so much that I think that many people are not buying it, and nobody outside of the APC is buying a credit system where, I mean, it's linked to mortgage, it's linked to student loan, and all of those things. Is that what one? It's one of the most interesting parts of their manifesto, but I don't think anyone is buying it for sure.
does it? I
But
mean, when
I think I don't think I have a problem with I don't think I have a problem with it, Um for me, it's just my own personal opinion. I don't think I have a problem with the credit system if it's going to be effectively what's the word again how to use like this now? The English don't run come out though. If it's going to be done properly,
Implemented. Okay.
implemented, yes, I don't have a problem with it. I think that it will help a lot of people to be able to stay away from crime. Because if some of these things that, like in other countries, you want to buy gadgets, you want to get a home, you don't need to have the money in cash. But in Nigeria, majority of like everything that we do is cash, 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 cash. You want to get a new iPhone, you need to have the cash. You want to get a new laptop, you want to get a house, you need to have the cash, or nobody's listening to you or whatsoever. I know that we have some credit facilities available, but it's not that widespread and everything. But for me, I think that that's if it's properly implemented, I don't think that it presents so much of a problem. But what I'm against, and this is just my own personal opinion, is putting our people in so much debt when we still have resources that are not even. Let me stop here. Sino should take over first before before I go
yeah,
too deep.
actually, when we speak to the idea of credit, right, we have some certain factors that we look at, yeah, and these things are very important before you can give out a credit. But I understand that this is a state-sponsored kind of idea, and there must be a little bit of twist to it. But very importantly, there's something we call the concept of character in credit, right? If you want to lend any person money, you are looking at the ability to pay back, right? So, for instance, if you are going to actually float a mortgage, also don't be surprised. We still have the Nigerian mortgage. Is it a mortgage bank? Yeah, I think it exists. Some of us have our money there as we speak. But the point is, you might need to just make it more effective and efficient. Credit is not a bad thing, but I believe that within our context, credit for education may be a bad thing. And a lot of people will ask me, why are you saying this? Why are you saying that? Oh, sorry, pardon me. I do not intend for you to pardon me, anyways. But the point is, where are we exactly? Are we in a state where we think people have capacity, really? Right? And they will not ordinarily get disoriented when they hear issues around credit for learning. Do we, by chance, know the importance of getting as many people as possible educated? Because when you speak to credit, you are literally just saying, we want to improve the quality, Abi. That's the one leg. And then we want to increase the fee as well. But for people to be able to afford it, we want to give them credit. The point is, at the current level, we said it is subsidized reasonably, yeah? Are people able to afford it? That was in the university at some point, and they increased school fee to 19,700. Alisa, you'll be surprised by the number of people that almost dropped out and the people that dropped out from 5,500 to 19,700. At the current rate, where education is supposedly free at the primary level, yeah, and secondary level, More than 20 million Nigerians are out of school. Aside the tuition fee, people are worried about what they will eat when they go to that school. Oh, will you give them credit to feed too? I don't know, maybe this makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, look at it like a parent that
Yeah,
can
yeah,
easily
yeah.
send the kid out to go hawk something.
It's a
So the family
holistic
can
thing.
feed. Yeah, it is not just about the education, it's about the whole system. And when you look at the whole system, you see that these people must be made to go to school at all costs. And you cannot, the APC way, pack all of them, put a cough in their hand, take them to school. No, you have to
They say
incentivize.
they are doing this thing. What's it called? A feeding program. I've just been introduced into that recently. I didn't even know there was that much. Should I say budget going into feeding children? Did anyone ever benefit from being fed at school? Because if you're looking to take kids away from the street, I think feeding them in school is even one way to do it, right? If they can go to school and they have their breakfast and lunch there, then during that period they are being taught that this is very primary school education level. I don't think the credit is applied to this one. I think the credit they spoke about is more tertiary education. But since we just thought about it in a holistic way, I'm just saying,
For
yeah,
me,
if
I'm
they
not.
have,
Yeah, I'm not even interested in this student loan idea. I think that's to the idea of
it's part
student
of the
loans
whole
is.
credit thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's part of. I mean, I'm more interested in like all this stuff besides education. I don't believe that we need to start getting our children into debt based on education. I think that's a very dumb idea at this particular point where we are in history. You see, one thing that people need to understand, you need to understand where you are at this current time. So where we are at this current time, when I made my research, I found out that most countries in the world, they had hit a certain literacy rates before they now started doing all this making education really expensive or whatsoever for people, right? We're in a country where majority of the graduates, about maybe 70% from my own estimation, they don't get jobs after they come out of the university. And you're now putting making them go pay for this thing, or getting them into debt that will wreck their life. Like, even in countries where they even have jobs for them, some of them don't pay up until they are like maybe 40 or even older than 40, and so on. So it's just so it's just a very stupid idea as far as I'm concerned. I feel like education in Nigeria at this particular time, it should be as subsidized as possible, or even free. And just like Sinosho said, children should be they should even be paid some amount of money, right? It's very, very possible if you do
But why do you think
calculation.
Nigerians struggle with the idea of being paid money, getting for education and being paid money? Do you think we we cannot reconcile with the idea of things being good? The AAC manifesto talked about that, right? Free education and a sort of structure that allows you to even get paid. But people are unable to see that.
People are not unable to see it. People cannot see. Lot of years of trauma, poverty, impoverishment, brutality. It leaves a lot of trauma in the system. And when you say people cannot see that, it presupposes that they have the sight, right? Quite a vast majority of the people only ears. And the people who speaks now are majorly people that have been bought over. So we cannot, in the real sense, start blaming the victim, which is why we also have to add our voices to the conversation, which is why I think we are here.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I've had this conversation with some people before, right? Mostly people that support the current president. And I think many of these people that support this particular individual, like, with all due respect, sometimes when I have conversations with them, they don't think of human beings as human beings. They think of human beings as possibly animals, because there was a comment that I made one day about where this man is coming from, his administration and everything, and being the godfather of the state and everything, and then some things that have happened, and someone was like, that's why it's never good to give them too much, because when you give them too much, you don't appreciate it. I'm like, hello, with taxpayers' money. This is not your money. This is money, Nigeria's money. So I think a lot of people don't, they are, I don't even know what the word is. I think a lot of people are not lateral thinkers. They are not creative thinkers. To solve problem solving is not a straight line. You need to be creative. And this is why majority, I'm not in support of when people say, oh, this person has been a captain of this industry, he has this, that degree. I want to know how, when I'm interviewing a candidate or when I'm listening to somebody talk, I want to know how creative you are. It's like the policy that APC has now that, or they're trying to implement, where they're talking about doctors and they are saying that, okay, because doctors are jackpying, right? They can't even come up with any entire, like, you see, these people don't think, they don't have that reasoning ability. You can't even come up with any plan to entice your doctors to come back to Nigeria. You can't even come up with any plan that entices your doctors, did I say governors, your doctors to stay in Nigeria. But the only plan that you can come up with, even with all of our national budget and all the consultants you can hire across the world, is that you must force them to stay in the country. So I think that they don't see human beings. The answer to your question is that they don't see human beings as human beings. They don't understand the necessities. That people are hungry in school. They don't understand that people are traumatized sometimes because they don't have access to funds. People are doing Yahoo just to survive in school. So I think that's basically it.
Omo, if you want to go into the the conversation of how people see
Yeah.
people in this world, I feel like we've gotten to a point where, not even to digress too much, where we are not that sensitive to, you hear news of, oh, 20 people died or something like that, and it's just okay, another day. So that's where we are at. So when you even talk about people that have even gone through secondary school and now they might not be able to go to university, some people will tell you, school is not for everybody, or school
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be for a particular set of people, and that particular candidate is still one that the youth love, right? So yeah, we are at a very interesting point in time.
Hmm. It's
I
just so
hope,
crazy.
I
But
hope
but
Sinosha is still there.
yeah, but absolutely. I just think that, when it comes to the giving out loans to people or having like a credit system where people can make purchases without necessarily having that particular amount that they need to buy it off in cash. I think that that would really help a lot of our youths, a lot of young people. It's gonna help. It's gonna help me personally. I think that would be a very great idea. And
Mm.
but then when it comes to education, I don't think that we should be doing that. I think all of Nigeria's resources should go towards educating our people and, if possible, giving incentives to people to study, because education is very, 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 very important at this particular time. So, yeah, yeah, Sinosure.
Education, all
Where's
around
Sinosure?
education, honestly, because this education
Yeah,
of a thing, sometimes when you say it, that's why many people nowadays, they'll tell you, school is scam or anything like that. Education is not scam, I beg.
yeah.
It's not
No,
scam. It's not scam. Getting
education is
educated,
not
maybe,
scam.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's not. So people, maybe that's why people don't want to see the seriousness when you say education. It sounds, should I say broad? Sometimes it just sounds like people are just saying these things.
If you are
Like,
following
okay,
somebody, if you are following
uh-huh.
somebody whose college certificate shows female and is a male, right? If you are following somebody who
Huh?
failed in the university, right? If you are following somebody, right, who got distracted in university and then they never had time to succeed, even when they were being fed with full chicken as a university undergraduate, right, and their laundry is being done, you will never understand that education is important. And you will also never understand that education should have evolved from where it was some 30, 40 years ago, right?
exactly.
We see a lot of people, they benefited from the system, right? But when you look at them closely, they are scholars. But when you look at them closely, they are not involved in the political space, right? Because they, for one, were about the fact that, oh, the space is not meant for people like us. That's why we said Pardon me. That's why we said a lot of touts have found their way into government in Nigeria, which is the reason why we must, as a matter of fact, purge them from the system. But education is very important, especially education that factors in the 21st century workforce requirement. Education that teaches finance professional, for instance, banking and finance, accounting, economics, business administration graduates on how to do financial modeling, how to do macroeconomic analysis, how to do equities analysis, fixed income analysis before they leave the university. So much that they already understand the use of Bloomberg terminal, the capital IQ of this world, Macabash, amongst other things that we need in the workforce. Those are the kind of education we need now. So much that our
Yeah.
graduates can be working for foreign companies, even from Nigeria. But anybody who still thinks education is not necessary, or perhaps it's not supposed to be an in thing, is probably still caught up in the 1970s and relating the ideas of education in 1970 to the realities of 2023. So I do not pay them any attention, anyways. I just focus on myself and the people I can contribute to their education needs. So I had to keep quiet for a moment because it got to me when Dorothy actually said, they see our people as animals. And I figured out that the way they've been treating our people really shows how they see them. They treat our people like animals, so they must see them as animals to treat them that way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Like, it's the truth. Just try and listen to them without arguing. Like, sometimes we always in this back and forth. Sometimes I think maybe Halisa would even know more about this because I think she has observed everybody silently, even before contributing her own thoughts. Like, if you try and listen to some of these people when they talk without, arguing with them, you will understand that these people are not talking about human beings. They are referring to animals. So whenever there's a demand for it's like the way we have pets in Nigeria. Let me not use in the Western world because in the Western world pets get treated better than human beings in Nigeria. But they have this kind of thing that they do where it seems that we're asking for too much. We're asking for too much. So that's just it. But moving
No,
on, Halisa.
yeah, the thing is the concept of the masses, and I think it needs to be rethought or something. Many people only are familiar with their own close circle, and if you see people that can come freely to have conversations about politics, about whatever, freely because they've reached a certain level of, should I say, financial freedom that allows them, or maybe passion, but I think mostly is because you're able to buy data and put your voice out there online. That's why you're disconnected from the masses for real. You have to
Hmm.
make yourself that you have to be intentional almost to know that this life is not just about me. It doesn't revolve around the cycle of people that I know. It's there are people out there. There are people out there. There are people in villages. There are people in areas where they've never seen electricity. There are some people that are in areas where they have only one teacher that comes to teach in that school, in a primary school in that area. And there's just so much reality, and majority of people in Nigeria are actually in that reality. Is that not why we're talking about 133 million people in multidimensional poverty? It might not ring. It might maybe it seems like a jingle to some people, but it's real. It's real, right? So we might have to readdress the idea of the masses and reconnect ourselves to the masses, because it seems like there's a big gap. Majority of people have been saying that the middle class is disappearing, right, or has disappeared in Nigeria. So it's just some people that have and some people that do not have. Well, we really need to reconnect our
And
people
that's
with the
why
people. Mhm.
that's why whenever I speak, right, I always speak with so much energy and passion, and that passion is coming from me being like with the people. Like, I understand. Like, I've been there. I am still there. I consider myself as their representative because I understand that the child of a tomato seller in the market may not be able to, like you said, have data to come online and everything. But at least when God puts you in a place of a little bit of privilege. I'm still in the
Exactly.
process. But then when you have that opportunity to tackle these guys? Because if you're in another country and you're enjoying yourself, some of these guys, we're talking about something yesterday, and one of them was drinking Hennessy while they was talking. Some people can never afford that kind of luxury. And you're saying, oh, you're painting this illusion that Nigeria is this wonderful place. Like sometimes you when these guys are talking, you have to go out and like open the door and like check, is it that there's a place that is different? Yeah, but this also brings us into the aspect of police brutality and human rights. What are we expecting Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do as regards to police brutality, human rights, people's rights to come out, protest, and seek other democratic means? And why it's very interesting is because there are two people I would like to look at, how they will be able to handle radical opposition. One of them is Tinubu. The second person is Shuore. And I have like very important reasons for looking at this, and I'm sure you guys understand. Tinubu was I would say he was a radical, but he was part of he was there. Whenever they mention Nadeko, they will always mention Tinubu, right? If we're being honest, right? And he stood up in opposition to the government, had to run away on exile and everything. So I want to see, people keep on touting, like the APC supporters, they keep on saying, okay, yeah, this guy is a Democrat. Oh, it's going to be different. Oh, it's going to be different from Buhari. Buhari is a military person. Like,
what were they doing there? What were they doing there?
Who doing?
What were they doing there? They said they shot some people at Lekki Tollgate. What were they doing there?
Yeah, so I want to see how it's going to be very interesting to watch how Tinubu will be able to handle opposition, at least on the national level, on the federal level, right? Because a lot of stuff don't get exposed on the state level, but on the federal level, I don't know what you guys are expecting as to human rights abuse. But before I let you guys go, like, there's one thing that they've said is that they're going to remove police from VIP protection, which I feel was a concept that was copied out of the AAC manifesto. But one question that I have is, if you're going to say you want to do that, why are you still, like, your people, many of the politicians that you've groomed have always left them. Even you still have VIP protection, even though you're not in power. So why is it that is at this particular time, maybe you're running for presidency, that you're saying you want to remove this? But what are your thoughts on human rights as what we should be expecting in this next 4 years? Where is Alisa?
This is
here, but I think
Don't you guys have any expectations? Why is everyone so quiet? What is this? What do you guys mean? This
that's like a metaphor. That's actually maybe how we feel about it.
But I beg. God, I beg. Shay, we go sit here, see all these park riders killing people in broad daylight. Why is everybody silent? God, I beg. But seriously, okay. I would expect that.
I get the message. Let's move on to other. I get the message.
No, why? No, what's the message here? No, the message.
No, I get the message. It's clear. No. It's clear. It's clear that you guys already rate my guy 0, even though he has not done anything. You guys already rate him 0. Okay, let's move on. Can we move on to like entertainment, sports?
Before you move on,
right.
You see that for democracy struggle will be a very good smoke screen in the next 4 years. No, our government couldn't have done that. We were involved in pro-democracy struggle. How could we have even opted to shut anybody out? No. We are not. It might be just what do they call them again? There's a name they call anybody that doesn't align with the government in this past 8 years.
Terrorists.
No, not terrorists. No, it's not treasonable.
Unpatriotic?
No, not unpatriotic. They use a lot of words, but this one is particularly common. Like when they are calling somebody like Tog, there's a name they use. When they are calling a set of people like... No, not that people. No, there's this word they use. They they will say like miscreant. They use words like
Miscreants, yeah.
miscreant.
Miscreants.
Yeah. So they will come out
Rogue.
and say those people are just touts fighting each other. Right? Like doing answers, you will hear that some people took it over. There's a name they keep hearing. The name is peculiar to Lagos that time. You might have to hear those kind of names on a national level now for the past 4 years.
Is it non-state actor? Was no.
It's not non-state actor. There's a
It's
name
just
they
a
call
word.
him. Yeah.
Maybe
Like
it will come to you.
it will come. But don't be surprised to see a lot of smoke screen. A lot of these guys fighting enemies, not using state actors. Don't be
But they
surprised.
said that Tinubu in Lagos was able to perform judicial reforms when he was in Lagos, which our current vice president contributed in. He was able to initiate the concept of the pub, not the concept, but he was able to implement have Lagos having the office of the public defender, and that helped a lot of people with human rights cases. So should we be looking at a scenario whereby once he comes into power, we'll start having maybe the likes of Femi Falana and Inibene Effiong and all of the other lawyers
Sorry.
can now go and rest, and we will now have lawyers defending people, our
Say
human
this
rights will be
public defender
protected.
office, This public defender office, say their jurisdiction does not cover the people that SARS abused me. Because when they were doing that SARS, what do they call it again? This body that was constituted after the Lekki massacre. Tribunal something. Is it tribunal? Or you guys call it
Yes.
Yeah,
tribunal? Yeah,
yeah.
Shebi, a lot of people came there and they said their cases have not been heard in court because they couldn't face SARS. Were those people not qualified to be defended? I'm just curious. Or does it mean public
Well,
defenders work for some people of
Oh, the
certain
way
age?
I'm losing hope, it's like hope is.
No,
But
no,
then the
this
no,
is
thing
don't
is,
lose hope.
it's yeah,
Don't
it's
lose
it's a
hope.
very it's a very good it's a valid question.
It's a
But I'm
renewed
thinking
hope. Renew your
no,
hope.
but I'm thinking this is federal government, right? Now we're trying to look into how he's going to make those states work, because he might be interested in the judiciary system, he might be interested in building a lot of public defendants or whatever. But what if the states are not picking it up? It's going to also bring this effect in general for the whole country, right? So if they are not, if he's doing some things at the top and it's not something that many states are deciding to pick on, how is that even going to work? Because that's one of the reasons why our educational system is failing, healthcare is failing too. And then now we're talking human rights. And for some reasons, we like to think of human rights as secondary, as if it's human rights. Lack of food is not, a violation of human rights. If not going to school is a violation of human rights. So
there
not,
is no
it's not even just. Mhm.
there are no jurisdictional issues around the office of public defender, if I'm not mistaken. It is for you to
So you
provide
think,
an
is there nothing? Is there a what's it called? Is it in the constitution that all the state governors are supposed to provide, should I say pro bono service or public defendant service? I've not
ordinary
really seen that being discussed.
ordinarily, right? And don't let me say ordinarily. Let me look at it from the I think US perspective. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be afraid you. And I think they can do that through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, which is somewhere where you may expect to see somebody like Osibajo or Botimi Akeredolu. Is he still Ondo
Hmm?
State Governor?
Eh? Eh?
Rotimi Akeredolu or Osibajo now? They used
Eh?
to
I
he used
please
to walk
side
around with
show.
these people now. So you wouldn't be surprised to see them together, right? Birds of a feather. Abi, has any one of them ever denied that they are not of the same feather?
But is it possible that we can ever see a country whereby and I know that would be very possible. Okay, let me not do that. But like, is it possible that we can actually see a country whereby when you get elected into office, the way I used to think of, maybe there was a particular time where I was just a kid just dreaming. I used to think that, when you get elected into office, all of the credible people, like credible people, even though they are in opposition, you pick them in like the best hands. They don't have to be people that supported you whatsoever. Like, you pick the best hands and actually infuse them into your government. Is it possible that we can actually see a scenario like that instead of having so many incompetent people and, we have a lot of talents, a lot of brains, but at the end of the day, you're just wasting away, dying in the grave, and, a lot of
What are you
talent
going,
wasted. Like,
what are you going to
yeah.
tell the people you negotiated with at Ota and Mina? Right? When they give you candidate to fill a slot.
Because Sinosure, I just feel like we are blessed, but we are cursing ourselves. Because it will be a curse if people like Femi Falana, if they die without being able to impact. Like, imagine how we lost Gani Fahimi. Imagine how we lost Fela. Imagine how we lost, and those are the prominent individuals, my brother. I tell you, those are the prominent individuals. There are a lot of, because I know that. I know, even from like people that I know that in my family, like brilliant minds, brains that could have contributed into this nation, whatever, but they just die away, and we just allow them go without being able to contribute. So at what stage are we going to have real patriots like leading our country that can bring in the best minds, that can bring in the best people, regardless of whether they support you or not, to come and work and give them that room to work also? I don't know if it's going to be possible that we can see that, because some people will say, oh, that's what Tinubu is known for, is team building skills. He will bring in the best people. But me personally, I know that he does that, but he does it for his own benefit. It's not for the benefit of the people, right? He does it for his own benefit. So I don't know. That's just why I think. Yeah.
I guess the question answers itself. Well, you said, when are we going to get people who are patriotic and who are skilled to get into office? Perhaps when we get a leader who is patriotic and skilled. Don't forget the Yorubas will say, "Egbe eyeleye nwoto," which literally translates to the fact that a bird of a feather flock together. You understand? So it is practically just the case that, in this case, like attracts like. And when it is not coming from a place of patriotism, it cannot attract patriotism. If it does, it will stifle it and kill it. That's where I think all of the old things, people want Nigeria to change. People want Nigeria to work. And you see someone that has shown over time to have the capacity and has used the capacity to truncate some of Nigeria's objectives, our joint objective. I still put them into office, hoping they have repented. No, it doesn't work that way. You get
A lot of people are repenting this period. Though. Don't give up. Join.
Yeah, they repent when
We
it's
have a lot of
election,
repentance.
election
We have a lot
period.
of- No, you just need to select a political party well, and you're repented. Any political party you select, everybody you just get in there and you're
your
repented.
sins are forgiven.
Yep. So
Bro,
Hopefully.
like, I think no offense to this manifesto, but it's a little bit lightweight. It's not
the
giving
root
me
is
that.
still searching.
No, like because I want to be sure that we are actually like on track, because a lot of
I've
people come
checked
and
the
say, oh,
manifesto,
because they
Rotimi.
don't support. Yeah.
I've checked that manifesto. You know what I see? I see a manifesto that is not intended to convince anyone. That is intended to just fill a vacuum. Maybe LP release manifesto, PDP release, AAC released. I'm not sure NPP even released. So APC just let us also join the trend and release a manifesto. That's what I see. Hearing Bola
And it
Tinubu
could also
speaking.
be a thing of you don't hold. There's not really anything you hold me down to. It's not written, so you can't take me to court for it.
Hence the essence of saying it is not intended to convince anyone.
Yeah.
It's more or less like,
So
I will remove subsidy if you like, protest, and I will enter. I will become the president. That's the kind of team that I can see behind that manifesto. I don't know, maybe that makes sense.
well, Well, I like it's my
Yeah.
brother. It absolutely makes sense. Like you're looking at the manifesto, there's nothing much about. There's nothing fantastic, like nothing mind blowing. I think the only thing that I've been able to agree on that I think it will really help our country is that credit system. I feel like that would really impact. But I don't believe in the student loan because I know
But in the
these people that
credit
are saying,
system, they need to be very
yeah.
data conscious. They need to be very data conscious, and it's not just about doing this census. They need to. I mean, they've
Mhm.
tried with the NIN, BVN, and everything, but they need to really upscale that thing before we'll be able to have a system that would look like it. It could work.
You want to use 1 trillion to do population census?
This is 800.
Why? Why? You know what amazes me. You know what amazes me. I think that we don't. Like, let me just say this. Like, I think that we don't. Well, as I said, we're not creative. We don't. Our people in government, they are not creative thinkers. So there was a particular time whereby people they used to distribute NEPA bills, right? They used to distribute NEPA bills, and almost every home used to get that NEPA bill. And you will have agents of or whatever, but NEPA people coming to come and drop. Now, why don't those people conduct that census? Like, if you're trying to save funds, I'm just saying, oh, it might be kind of like because not everybody's connected to electricity, but majority of the people, that bill gets to the deepest parts of wherever, right? So why don't those people do those things? Because this
Wait,
money
why
you're
don't even
spending on,
local government chairmans do it? Because it's not like they're
I don't
busy,
know.
right? They can go and
I
do
don't
a
know.
head count and it will be possible,
But
honestly.
since we mentioned this what do you call it now, censor stuff, I also think like I should just chip it in that a lot of Nigerians we are like the people that do ourselves, like we are very insincere. So when the census comes up, you see a lot of people traveling back to their villages to go and get counted. I've even seen tweets that, oh, this census is coming up, travel back to your village. And I feel like that's one of the most
Yeah.
stupid things that anybody can do. Because when you travel back to your village, you get counted, your village is getting more allocations or whatsoever. And at the end of the day, you are not there to even monitor how that particular governor is even doing. And then you come back to another city and continue hustling in that city where you are under documented in that particular, you are not accounted for whatsoever.
Exactly.
And you are now over pressurizing the resources of that city. So we see a lot of problems, man. A whole lot of
But do you
problems,
think that if even if their manifesto or whatever is not as should I say complex or as not is not as direct or explicit, do you think that if there is capable hands, if they are able to put people that are efficient, at least even if they are not working, you know, with the most right material document, do you think it will be something that could work? Because sometimes you have good documents and maybe you might not have the best hands, but do you think if there's good enough hands they could actually
okay,
make
so
some things work?
if we're going with the concept of what a manifesto should represent, I don't feel like they will be able to do anything without this document because this document is so important. They have failed to address the major issues and the major concerns as to like how we're going to move further as a nation. Do they have one, two brilliant ideas as to how we can move further as a nation? Yes, like in terms of like the credit facilities, which is nice. I think I like that. But as to like like other things like the agitations, it's not addressed. The farmer herdsmen crisis is not addressed. The IPOB agitation is not addressed. Many other of these things are not addressed in this document. It's not. They're not just going to wake up and just the only thing that we can count on is that they are promising us that Tinubu is going to be different from Buhari. Like they are not the same set of people. But it's not just about having competent hands. What are the ideas that are going to work on? What framework? Because if they continue like they have promised to do on this Buhari part, it's going to be a total disaster. I think it's very important for every political party to put out a manifesto and let the people validate, like examine those ideas. It's not going to be magic. The same set of people that Tinubu is going to be working with is almost the same set of people that have been active in the Buhari administration. Fashola is going to be there. All of these dudes, they are the same structure. El Rufai, all of them are the same set of people that helped Tinubu win, and they are going to be in that government too. So the only thing that we can actually use to evaluate is this manifesto. I'm not really sure that without missing his plans, anything will be implemented can really come up. But let's be expectant and see what happens, guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And we've talked. So I know, sure. Do you want
yeah,
to add to that, or
Me,
we
I
have?
am I am actually going to be one to insist that a vehicle will take you somewhere with the fuel it has. How about a situation whereby the vehicle does not even have an engine to start with? Fuel will not matter. And I think that's the case with Nigeria. If you really want to progress, you've got to set up a new car, put a proper engine, then fueling it will make sense. And fueling in this case comes in the form of all of this year reform. You do reform, reverse, IRF, somebody starts SEPAM, choose president for you. You choose police reform, they change SARS to SWAT. What do they call
SWAT.
it? SWAT. SWAT now is beating people up, maiming people. Does that change anything? It doesn't. That's what reform does in a system that is unwilling to change. You must upend the system. And that's the way to go. Thank you. You don't tire.
So thank you for joining us. We've tried. This is the first episode. Let's see here. Can you tell us your goodbye, Dorothy? Sign us your also just tell us your goodbye
yeah.
and
So yeah, it's been a great one. Actually, we've done a very great job. But I think that what we could do next is, I think next episode, we will be bringing on maybe one of the the Agbadorians to come, and then maybe we'll
and
just go
defend
over.
or
No,
share
no,
more light
we're not defending. We're just having a normal, light
or
conversation. With them.
apologize. I mean, they could do
All
either.
right, all right. So it's goodbye for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Let us know what you think, and we'll join you again next time.